driver interviews, pit action, industry news. We're bringing you everything that fuels the adrenaline-pumping world of dirt track racing. Buckle up now. You're sitting with the Slimy Bastards. Take it away, Jason.
Alrighty, another episode of Sitting with the Slimy Bastards here in the great state of the watering Iowa. Tonight, I got a special guest all the way from Elko, Nevada with me. And quick shout out first and foremost to Tom's Guide Service. I want to help these guys out by mentioning them and coming aboard and helping me sponsor the show and everything. And thanks, Gary. And then, of course, Slade Pit and Des Pit out there and Pit Stop Motorsports out in Rock Springs, Wyoming, which Wade Taylor, my guest tonight, is, I know, familiar with them boys out there in Rock Springs, Wyoming. But without their help, I appreciate Slade and what he's done. Check out his new wraps that he's done on some of these cars. Braxton and Bryson Yeager's got all new wraps coming on, and they look really, really good. But look at this motherfucker that's sitting here all spruced
Sit on my
up and
front porch.
Wade Taylor, all the way from Elko, Nevada. And I've known you for quite a while, and I must say, is it me or did you get better looking since the last time I seen you in person? Because Jesus Christ, look at you all sprawled out there. You've been hitting the gym with your wife, or what's going on
Dude,
over there?
I'm just living my best life, buddy. I'm just having a good time on the front porch. Sprinklers are turning on. It's still daylight here.
We don't need sprinklers here in Iowa. It just rains every 6 hours, and then we call it a day. But yeah, what have you been doing there? You've been hitting the gym. You look good.
Thanks, dude. No, I haven't. Just been doing my normal thing. We've got an extra part of our medical side, which honestly has changed my world a little bit. You ever heard of pellet hormone replacement therapy? So last year in October, we hired on a new doc with our office, and she does girl hormone replacement and boy stuff. And dude, I'm telling you what, since I started doing some of the testosterone pellets, dude, that changed my world. I feel like I'm 20 again. Yeah.
Really? Well, you already had that young look to you. You know what I mean? But it's working, huh?
Yeah, it's working, dude. Absolutely.
I was gonna say you look like you're 21 again, but
all right, I appreciate that. Thanks, buddy.
No, I mean, I'm being serious though. You look like you've been hitting the gym. I was gonna say that when you first came on, I was like, Jesus Christ, what have you been doing over there?
I do chiropractic work all the time though. That me and my wife joke, yeah, wrestling people around. It's busy work.
Yeah. So you out there in Elko, for those that don't know, I mean, that's what you do for a living. You're a chiropractor and all that. And how long you been doing that?
Yeah, I've been doing it 21 years now. 2003. I graduated chiropractic college in Dallas, Texas, and then moved out to Reno, Nevada for about a year. And then I've been in Elko for 20 years now.
Yeah. And you got your own practice and everything there.
Yeah, we started out with just a chiropractic office, and then I did that for about, I'd say 16, 17 years. And then we did something called Medically Integrate. So basically, I think the future of chiropractic and even the medical world is to take all of it and combine it. So we do, our building is half medical, half chiropractic. And we have a little piece of even physical therapy that's in the mix too. So we're kind of trying to make it like a one-stop shop for anything musculoskeletal that you have going on.
I'm glad you said one-stop shop, because a couple of weeks ago I had Regan Fatoya on with me, and I know he brought some of this up, but or I brought some of this up of Wade Taylor because I was wearing one of your shirts, but he does haircuts, and I brought up to him that he should get with you where you could set up a shop for your chiropractic right there in your race trailer. He can do haircuts right next to you, and you got a one-stop shop of a whole, for these guys that are out racing.
Dude, I'm telling you, you're probably right because I saw him at Super National doing haircuts out of the back of his trailer, and I was across the pit on the other side in the swampland, and he had the better parking spot, and I was out in the swampland with my portable chiropractic table slaving
Yeah.
away. You're right. I'm gonna hook up with Riga. I'm gonna see if I can get a better parking spot. He's got the hookup.
But he'd probably charge you a fee to get that $1,000 back to him that you know.
Oh man.
But Wade, the first time I met you, you were racing up there in Idaho Falls, and there's some two big day race, 5,000 to win both nights. Um, you rolled in there in your semi. Remember when you had your semi and
My
in the
big
whole
old black
trail?
and yellow painted rig.
Yeah, yeah. But I was like, holy shit, what's rolling in here? And then Jake, my brother-in-law, he goes, oh, that's Wade Taylor. That's who's staying at my place for the weekend. And I was like, oh, right on. And Jesus Christ, you cleaned house there both nights, took everybody for 10 grand.
Dude, that was
And
pretty fun actually. That was a good weekend.
yeah, and I had a ball with you. I mean, we had a great time that weekend. And that's when Lisa was still running a modified too. You both were running both cars.
Yeah.
Speak and those that don't know, I mean, that aren't familiar with you, both you and your wife both race modifieds for quite some time. Are you still? I know you're in the sprint cars and all that, but are you still running some of the modified stuff? Or
Yeah, we've actually ran about we've ran more shows in the mod this year for sure. We've only actually ran one night. We just got our sprint together. We had to build a new engine over the winter. So the modified, we've been running it since April.
Mhm.
Um, we've I got lost in the sauce a little bit. Our last weekend, we kind of got our tails kicked pretty hard. We uh we finished fifth place over in Winnemucca, and the next night I was like, "Oh, I know what to do. I know what I did wrong," and I did that, and then I finished eighth. So we went backwards. So my car is currently in the shop being torn apart because it's going through the scales, through everything. I have apparently not done something right, so we're gonna fix that.
Yeah, and you run basically Elko, and I mean, what's the areas that you race back there? You said Winnemucca. I mean, you've been over the Rock Springs quite a bit. I mean, I don't know when the last time you were over there, but
Yeah,
that's kind of your region, no?
yeah. Everything I would say like Rock Springs is probably the furthest east that we'll make it normally, unless we run Boone
Uh-huh.
at Super Nationals or come back and um, play with a few races back over in the summer. But Rock Springs, Price, Utah, uh, over the years, we've raced Aztec, we've raced down in Arizona. I do enjoy going down in January and racing the tracks in Arizona. Cocopa is really fun.
Yeah.
I always get my tail kicked, but I think it's a blast because winter here sucks.
Yeah.
So winter down there is fantastic.
Yeah. I went down there for the first time last year, and God, that's a cool facility there at that Cocopah Speedway. That's just a cool track altogether. And like you said, well, the weather wasn't it was pretty chilly when we were there, but it you could see where it'd be nice though. Like Justin Yeager was saying, it's normally never this cold, but it's a cool place to even watch a race. I mean, if you stand up on the top and you just hear the engine start up as they're coming around to go green, I mean, there's no sound like it. And that's what I think it
Yeah,
stands out the most for me there. But yeah,
dude,
I know
it's
what
a
you're
nice
saying.
facility.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the probably the nicest facility compared to like Las Vegas Motor Speedway has a really nice facility. The track doesn't race that great, but Cocopah does. Cocopah is a great track with a great facility. I
Right.
I've enjoyed it there. I've never had a bad race. I've never had a bad track. Um, the management always seems to have it together. It's always ran really smooth. It's always on time. Those are always
Yeah.
good things if you're traveling in. You kind of want to
Right.
have it all put together.
Right. Where do you say when you're running your modified and all that and you're running around like because guys back here, well, back that up here a little bit because you ran Iowa for a couple of years just straight. You'd fly into into Des Moines or whatever, have your stuff at Harris, and then you'd run all over in Iowa. So, I mean, you
Yeah.
know what it's like to race every night almost back here, but compared to where you're at now, um, I mean, it's hard to do that. I mean, there's just really no way you can do that there.
Yeah. I mean, the most you run in a week is Friday, Saturday here. Um, there's been a couple of times through the years where a third track or a second track would throw in like a Sunday day race.
Oh,
Um, but for the most part here in the desert where we're at, if you
yeah,
put in a
it's
Sunday,
just
it's 2 nights a week and you got to travel.
right. So when you came back here, because when I first moved back here was what I think 2017, somewhere in there. But I remember you came back because I came with you a couple different times over there to Boone to the Night of a Thousand Stars and some of them down in Boone and all that. And
Yeah.
when you look back at that, like during the time you could tell because you just were in that new Harris at the time, changed over from the addiction, right? And
Yes, sir.
um, if you stop and think, like at that time, you were pretty, I'd say, not pissed off, but kind of frustrated because you're used to dominating where you are. Then you come back here and it's a whole different ball game, right? But
It was a different ball game, but it was fun because I think the
right,
challenge is really fun. But I'll be honest, the dirt that we race on out here versus the dirt that is in Iowa, it's like two different worlds. So you
right,
get used to reading what a track's going to do here. So you kind of have an idea of what to do with the car, what to do with the setup, where it's going to go. And then in Iowa, even their dry slick tracks would still have like sometimes big old cushion to slam off of, and it might be dry down in the middle or the bottom, but there was always just a lot of character to all the tracks in Iowa. And then not to mention the fact that it rains all the time there. So you never knew like if you're gonna be packing in a swampy track or halfway through the night they were gonna
right.
call the race or hey, Iowa is definitely a challenge. And one of the things I learned from Kyle is he'd pull up the Kyle Brown, he'd pull up the
Yep,
Weather Channel app and he'd watch where all the radar was. And you'd have three tracks to choose from. Like, all right, that storm's moving across the north, so we're going to go here, or we're going to
right,
go down south because they're gonna have a chance to run.
right.
I thought that was pretty
And you're
cool.
only an hour or 2 hours away to do that. So
Yeah, on a Thursday night, I was like,
right,
oh, this is cool as heck.
yeah. Because there's guys that like well, you race Brit, you race Marshalltown. So I mean, there's guys that if Brit gets rained out, Marshalltown's running, they'll haul
Yeah,
ass down there to hurry up. And some of them will even miss some of the heat races just to get down there. And it's vice versa if Marshalltown's raining. So yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. But when you look back at that and you stop and think of the competition you were racing, and I was thinking about this today I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but when you were running back here at that time, I mean, that's when Ricky Thornton Jr. was really kind of starting to really make his ground in the modified series. Um, uh, who's the other one I'm thinking of? Zane DeValvis.
Tim
He was
Ward.
back. Yeah, Tim Ward, um, Ethan Dotson. I
Yep.
mean, you were running against some of the top high quality, what do you want to say, top of the drivers at that time every week and sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, that was fun. Except losing to Ricky because Ricky, I raced him a few times in Arizona, and then I felt like when I branched out over there to Iowa, he was right there just kicking my butt again. I was like, oh, dang it. There
I
was
just remember,
I'll never forget it. So Kyle, um, right down from Harris. So my very first it was one of my very first races in Iowa. We went to Boone, the track promoter maybe. Somebody was talking about, oh yeah, we're testing this out. We're gonna let the track go dry. We're not putting as much water on tonight, blah blah blah. And I was like, all right. At that point, it didn't mean much to me because I didn't have a concept of what Boone normally was.
right,
And so the track went really dry. It turned into kind of a bottom feeder track. And I finished somewhere mid pack in a heat race. I don't even know. I might have had to race a B, might have transferred through the heat, something. There was some kind of inversion that happened. Next thing I know, I'm on the front row of the A main at Boone, and dude, I don't know what I'm doing. And my car's brand new, and here we go. And so we led maybe like the first 15 laps. I was feeling like, oh my God, this is great. This is so fun. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden, I start feeling my car. My car starts moving around. And I look over, and it's a blue and yellow nose, and it's Tim Ward on the bottom. And he kind of noses me out of the way and passes me like I'm standing still. And here comes Ricky. I start feeling my car bump around. Here he goes. He passed me on the high side like I'm standing still. And so we go, and one of the concrete tires on the inside of Boone had turned up because we were all running the bottom group. And like, probably all of us were licking on that tire. Well, since they're concreted in, it turned up. Well, him gets a flat tire, gets black flagged. Ricky gets a flat tire, black flagged. All of a sudden, here I am. I'm in first again. And I'm thinking, man, throw the white. Come on. Here it comes. Boom. I smoked the same concrete piece of tire, get black flagged. Man, yeah, I've got all kinds of fun memories there, but none of them were good. I didn't win a dang thing when I was there.
You have good memories. Like I've been around you in Boone and that. It's always a fun time down there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I got to come back. I need an Iowa trophy. That would be really fun. I'd like to put that little check on the bucket list.
Have you ever won a race here in Iowa? Did you ever win one when you came? Because you
No,
came back here, what, 2 years in a row?
yeah, I played a bunch. No, I never won a feature out there. I led some features, finished up front a couple of them. There was a couple I didn't even make the A main. I was back there just sucking hind teeth. There
Yeah.
was there was one track, maybe Vinton is the one I'm thinking of. That's kind of a fairground track. I have never been so beat up in my life. Those guys in Iowa were so tough. It was 100 degrees, 100% humidity. This guy, I was taking my shirt off, and it was just pouring sweat. Because in
Yeah.
Nevada, if you come from a dry climate and you head
Right.
into that, and then you jump in the race car, oh my! I've
It's
never
night
been
and day.
so miserable, so
Last
miserable.
last year at the Salute to Veterans race, it was 100. I'm not shitting you. I want to say it's like 105 or 110
Oh,
in Spencer for the opening day of the Salute to Veterans. And Braxton, Braxton Yeager. I was sitting there in this trailer with him and old Matthew. Do you know Matthew at all? His little fit
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
So they're both sitting in the trailer and just sweating their asses off. And Braxton looks down, looks up at me and he goes, I can honestly say I've never seen my legs sweat before.
Kyle Brown came in my trailer, and I was stripped down in my underwear in front of my little fan, and my fan was blowing at me. I was down on all fours. He's like, "What in the hell are you doing?" Oh, I'm trying to live, man. I think I'm dying. It was
So
terrible.
are you still in a Harris then?
I've
What
got a GRT by BHE. So Bob
okay.
Harris,
Yep.
when he first jumped over to A mods, um, I think it was during COVID. It might have been 2020. So it's been a few years now, but I haven't put a ton of nights on it. And so that's also the same year that I started putting that sprint car together. And I've just been dabbling in both worlds. Sprint car
Yep.
was always something that ran in my family. So I always wanted to check it off my bucket list of like
Sure.
things that I at least tried.
Yep. Are you
So I've been
enjoying it?
running. Yeah, I have been. It's a challenge. The GRT's been a good car. It's been fun. The challenge for the modified to a sprint car, though, the ergonomics are so different. Like a modified, when you drive it, it doesn't feel like a street car. That's probably giving it not enough credit, but it definitely drives like you're on the left side of the car. When you turn it left, you feel the G-force throw you to the right. That kind of stuff feels very authentic and easy to relate to your brain.
Yeah.
The sprint car, my wife always thinks it's funny because my best description, she's like, "What does it feel like?" I'm like, "Well, it feels like you're sitting on a toilet first because you're sitting straight up and down. You're like 90-degree angle, right? So you're sitting on the
Yeah.
toilet, your legs are hanging straight down, which if if you sit in a sprint car long enough, your legs go numb, just like you're on a toilet too, for the record. Then you got
Yeah.
your steering wheel, and it's like a bus. And then on top of that, when the car goes in the corner, your center of gravity is like you're holding onto a stripper pole. So if you're sitting on a
Uh-huh.
shitter and you're holding onto a stripper pole, like honest to God, your rotation around that steering wheel feels just like that. And I don't know what a stripper pole feels like on the
Yeah.
toilet, but in my mind, I feel like that's like a good description.
How many times? I mean, they run them quite a bit over there in Elko then, or
Yeah, so we'll run
sprint
Elko in
cars?
September. Yeah, we'll run Elko in September. So it's a traveling tour group out here. It's based out of Reno, so it's about 4 hours from where I live. But we'll run Elko, Battle Mountain, Winnemucca, Lovelock, Fallon, Susanville, California, Quincy, California. Um, that's about every hour. There's another track down Interstate 80, and then once you get over to Lovelock and Fallon, from there to Susanville might be an hour and a half or so, a little further for those guys. And then Quincy, probably another hour over there. So as long as you're willing to travel, but most of the tracks, IMCA won't let them double dip a little bit. So Elko's races will not overlap uh,
Yeah.
Fallon or maybe Fallon. So they'll make you put 3 or 4 hours between the tracks out here because we're so spread out.
Right.
So with the tour group is usually once a month. They'll race a couple of days. So it's selective on the sprint car. The modified, honest to God, you could run probably 2 or 3 tracks as long as you're willing to drive 6 hours or less. You can race 2 or 3 tracks out west every weekend.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good if you consider, you know what I mean, for
Yeah.
back there.
Well, and you think about it, dude. Like Zane DeVilbiss, he's won IMCA modified championship a couple times, right? I
Yep.
don't want to discredit how many times he's won it. I don't remember, but more than once. And then Chaz Baca, he won the championship. So you could definitely out west, even though you got to be picky with it. You can pull some big races.
Right. You know, when you also raced out in Oregon too, didn't you go back to some big show out there a couple years ago?
Yeah, we did Oregon Speed Weeks,
Yeah.
and that's really fun. It's like a whole week long racing, and you go like Northern California, and then you go up into Oregon, and you go a little further up into Oregon, then you end up all the way at the top of Oregon, almost at the Washington border, and then at that time you came back down into the middle of Oregon. So you hit,
Yeah.
I feel like almost every track in Oregon.
Yeah. I know Kobe Fett went out there last year and he won the race out there and did really well, but he said the dirt is a little bit different out there than what it is obviously here in Iowa, but there's some similarities. Did you see that as well or
Yeah, they have a little bit of a uh, cushiony vibe to it a little bit. So if they get the track prep right, there will be a bottom groove, and then there will be a top groove with a little bit of a cushion. And then every
yeah.
once in a while, same thing with every track. If they don't get it prepped right, or there's not enough water, or the weather's too hot, it'll just dry slick top to bottom. But the racing in Oregon was pretty aggressive and fun. Um, we got beat up a little bit when we were out there. They definitely they're not afraid to use bumpers or doors or tires or anything else. They're a rowdy
Yeah.
bunch.
Yeah. You know, Ryan Cartel called me. God, it was I want to say is before our podcast that we did with him, but he goes, right, you know Ryan there in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
He calls me up and this is how the conversation goes. Hey, I ran into your best friend today. And I said, oh yeah, who's that? And he goes, he's on his way to the EDC. He's part of the EDC bunch. I said, what the hell is like at first I
uh,
couldn't figure out what the hell he was talking about. And then he goes,
uh,
old doctor himself. And I said, oh,
uh,
Wade Taylor. And he goes, yeah, he
uh,
had the whole clan in there in his truck stop getting a bunch of stuff heading out to the EDC or whatever it was of
dude,
I didn't
absolutely. Chicken. I don't know if that's his real like today life nickname, but
Well,
back
yeah,
when he
the
was
people
racing
still
mods all the
call
time.
him that.
Do they? Okay. Yeah, we always called him Chicken. Yeah, dude, he was funny as heck. It looked like he'd seen a ghost. I haven't seen him in so long, and we were getting propane and getting prepared for a whole week long adventure. EDC's a hoot, man. It's a blast.
So that's what I'm bringing this up is because I love it. I'm into all kinds of music. I'll listen to everything, and but that's one that really just I could listen to that kind of stuff, that electric dance stuff, and all that quite a while. I'm right there with you. I've always wanted to go to that. My wife Chantel, she's been down there to the EDC. I think it was in 2012 or 2013 that she went. But I always thought it'd be cool as hell to go to and all that. But you guys go every year, don't you?
Yeah, so my wife's birthday is May 8th, and they always do EDC the weekend after. So
Hmm.
we went the first time by ourselves, and then since then, every birthday she's wanted to go back. So that's her birthday present. She's like, take me back to EDC. So
Yeah.
we start
Is
out
it
just
that
us.
cool?
It's cool. So they take all of Los. So this year they had sold 525,000 tickets, just to put it in perspective how big this thing is.
Okay.
And then um, you go to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway NASCAR track. They turn the entire parking lot, like by the drag strip and the dirt track, the entire parking lot is turned into RV parking and tent parking. And not
Okay.
just like bring your own tent parking, but they have these like reflective domes and they put ACs in them. So you show up and you're on AstroTurf on top of asphalt. So it's a little hard, but then you either however you camp, and then the inside of Las Vegas Motor Speedway, they put like 8 or 9 like full blown concert stages inside of there. So one stage would be like really like heavy hard rock kind of stuff, a little like screamo kind of stuff,
Uh-huh.
and then they'll have one that is really bassy, and then they'll have uh, kind of a house music stage. They'll have each genre kind of has its own stage, and the
Sure.
main stage. I swear to goodness, the main stage looks like it's 2 football fields long. It's huge, and it takes up like the whole infield corner of the racetrack. And I don't know how many people. If you've ever looked at the pictures, you should look at some pictures because
Yeah,
when you
I've
see the,
seen that. Uh, Yeah, I've seen them, and that's what it looks cool as hell.
it's cool. And if the music you don't like it, like you seriously walk like 5 minutes, and you're at a different stage, and it's a different artist, it's a different experience. It's pretty fun.
Does the sound overlay on each other?
A
Like
little
you would think,
bit.
because it's all outdoors, right? And you would think that the sound would like all come together, right?
Yeah, it does a little bit. So if you're like between stages, you almost see the places where the music overlaps a lot because there's not many people standing there. But when you're
Okay.
actually at a stage and facing the stage, I don't know how they've done all their magic, but it's pretty good. Like
Yeah,
you can hear only that stage. But then as you leave that stage to go to the next stage, you do hear some blendy stuff that
sure.
gets a little tough.
Yeah. So, who do you like? Who have you seen out there that is really that you guys really enjoy, or who do you guys go to? Because there's some artists that are there every year, right?
Yeah,
Some of the
yeah.
DJs and that, and
Some of the bigger ones that we've really liked, Alinium, I think, was the first one that my wife really had to start listening to because my wife's been in that music for quite a while. And
uh-huh.
then we saw Excision this year at one of the stages, and that was one of our favorite sets for the whole weekend. And then a guy named Seven Lions, he had a really fun set. Um, and they're all at different stages at different times. And there's so many good artists and fun music that a lot of times they overlap. So they won't just pick like put the best guy at midnight. They'll put the best 3 guys all at midnight on 3 separate stages. So it
To
kind of
thin out
bums
the
you out. You're
crowds.
yeah, they're trying to thin the crowd out, but you're like, oh man, I got to choose between these. So
Yeah,
that gets pretty exciting. That's fun.
yeah. See, I'd like to see like Deadmon, or you know what I mean?
Oh, Dead Mouse. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm not up to the names of them all.
Yeah,
You talk to metal and then I can start rambling on forever. But this I've always liked. I've been into that for the last decade or so too. So Skrillex, that kind of stuff.
yeah, dude, they got a whole stage of like really heavy stuff. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. And do you guys go to other ones then too? Like other dance festivals or anything like, because they do minus the EDC, right? They do other ones too. Do you guys go to any of the other ones?
Yeah, we've been to a few of those. We went to a place called Lost Land last year, which was in Ohio. I can't remember the name of the town, but you fly into the middle of Ohio and you have to commute a little bit. But basically, some old farmer figured out that if he rented out his land, he could make a big old bunch of money off the thing. And they just cut down like the corn stalks. I mean, they were still like 4 inches tall. So when you
Uh-huh.
tried to set up a tent, this was an event where you brought your own tent, like you just camped on the ground.
Oh, no kidding.
And dude, our tent was like getting spikes of like corn stalks through it. We're from Nevada, we know what to do, like stomping them down. But I don't know how many. Babe, do you remember how many tickets were sold to Lost Lands last year? That one's a different event because it's like put on by Excision, who is kind of a heavy bass, they call it dubstep kind of a guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so on those stages there's like maybe only 3 or 4 stages. How many? 80,000? Yeah. So that one had about 80,000 people at it. And
Yeah.
it was a good time. It was a blast.
Yeah.
I
There's
don't I've
one
never had a
in
bad time at them.
there's one in Michigan, and it's like up in the woods. And if you look at the
Oh,
pictures of it, it's like all cut out. So, and then you see the lights with all the different stages and everything, and you can see the people in between.
they
It
just had
looks
that
really
one like,
cool.
yeah, 2 weeks ago they just did that. It's called Electric Forest.
Yeah, yep, that's what. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that
That
would look
that's
cool too.
that's one of those that if you want tickets to it, I think you got to like sit on the computer, and as soon as the tickets drop, you got to like buy them because
Oh,
that one
really?
it's always sold out. Yeah, I've never even seen tickets available for that one.
Well, there you go. So there's a mission for you and Lisa then for next year of.
There you go. Oh, I guarantee you, she's gonna make me go at some point. Promise. Now
So
your
the
mission's got to be to go to EDC, buddy.
Well, I know it's kind of hard when you don't know what you're walking into. You know what I mean? And then you start thinking, all right, so do I need a rental car? Am I staying, hotels? I mean, with that many people, what's hotel situation like? Um, I didn't know the whole camping deal. I just never thought of that or never really looked into that part of it either. So,
For anybody that's never been to that, the one perk is if you camp there or you go rent an RV. A lot of people rent RVs around the area and drive them in.
uh
But if you do that, when you go inside EDC, you've got a little wristband and they'll check you out and you get to go back to your camper and then you can go back in because
gotcha.
it starts at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and it
Uh-huh.
doesn't end until 5 in the morning. So if you're like an old guy and you go in there at like 5, like you're usually like dressed in shorts and 100-degree weather kind of clothes. And then by
Right.
about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, that high desert cool happens. And now it's, let's say, 75. Then we all go back to the camper, pregame a little bit, come back
Yeah.
dressed a little better, and party the rest of the night. So
Yeah.
I, I'd
Well,
suggest
see, that's
camping
why
for sure.
it's a good thing you're on that new medicine or that new thing you got going on at your work make
Oh,
you
yeah. Heck yeah,
you
buddy.
know
Absolutely. Keep you young.
sorry, my internet all bogging down. They've been saying that the internet speeds all around northern Iowa have been kind of slow due to the flooding and shit. So
No, it's
that's what we're dealing with here. But real quick, Wade, I wanted to ask you, you've been around racing for quite some time and you've been obviously here in the Midwest racing and that. I've asked every modified driver that's been on show this year, um, if you had your Mount Rushmore of drivers, who would those four guys be that you would have on Mount Rushmore for modified guys?
Ooh. Well, let's talk about the guys who have. I'm not going to go too far in the past because I've definitely had my butt kicked by some of the legends like Mr. Skyrocket himself and Mr. Jet Racing himself. Um, but like current guys that are still in the dirt track game pretty regularly. Um, Ethan Dotson whooped my ass so bad in Oregon. I beat him one night out of like 10. But I swear to goodness, he drew heat races with me every freaking night. And I was so pissed because even if I had the lead, yeah, you could turn lights on. Even if I had the lead, he'd still come around me with like one or two to go and beat me. So I lost every heat
Yeah.
race to Ethan Dotson. So I've got mad respect for him because he's raced California, Oregon. I've seen him kill it in Vegas. I've seen him kill it in Iowa. Um, I'm gonna say Ethan. I saw him kill it in Florida this year. We went to Florida Speed Weeks and watched him do really well down there. He's a monster in a modified. Um, Actually, Kyle Brown. I put Kyle Brown up on Mount Rushmore because that dude right there, he's jumped from USMTS to IMCA. Um, Same thing. He goes down to Arizona, wherever.
Yeah.
He's always a threat to win. Um,
Yeah.
Ricky Thornton, even though he's in late models, I feel like he's still got a modified somewhere in a garage, I think. So um, definitely Ricky Thornton belongs there for sure. Um,
Well, he drove modified for years. I mean, so yeah, I mean,
oh,
I would say,
his winning percentage in a modified, I've never actually like seen anybody talk about it or put it together, but it has to be like
oh,
crazy.
and yeah, and it'd have to be, yeah, well, stop and that's a funny thing you say that. So stop and think what his winning percentage is even in a late model.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we us guys in the modified world, I think the guys in Iowa in the modified land pretty much feel like they're probably the best of the best in the modified world. And he showed up out there and just wiped the floor with them again and again and again. He passed me. There was one time, um, this was not that long ago, maybe two winters ago. So January down in Arizona, maybe three. As you get older, all the seasons run together. And you don't even remember what you did.
Uh,
But he, we started the race, and I swear I was sixth, fifth, maybe in the main event, rolling in, and I wasn't setting the world on fire, but I wasn't. I was still in fifth or sixth, and here comes RT in the like blackest black, slickest nothing on the track, and he passed me. He lapped me in like it felt like he lapped me in 5 laps, and I was just
yeah,
like, oh. And as he went around me and took off, he lapped everybody else. I was like, God, dude, he's just on a different planet. Whatever he's doing in the cockpit with those feet, man, I've never seen an in car of his feet, but I feel like if he ever sees this, there should be a request. Ricky Thornton, I want to see a GoPro camera of your feet and what they're doing in a modified because it's spectacular, whatever it was. Um, how many names are on Mount Rushmore? Four, five?
you got so far you got Ethan Dotson, Paul Brown, Ricky Thornton Jr. So you got one more.
Mm. Honestly, I'm gonna put Zane DeVilbiss on that list because he's another one that's kicked my butt. I think 99% of the times I've ever raced him. I think he is a fantastic driver, and I think the dudes that build the
Oh,
cars. I think Kyle building cars. I think Zane building cars. That there's a lot of respect for that because that's a hard thing to keep going year after year as a driver, as an owner, as a car builder. That's
oh.
there's a lot of pressure.
I went down and did a podcast with Kyle, and them guys down at the Harris shop one. It is in November, and that's a hell of an operation they got going over there. And you kept your stuff there for, was it both years you came back here? You kept your stuff right there at Harris Enterprises, didn't
Yeah,
you?
yeah, he was so cool. Him and Sean Ritter let me keep my stuff with him a couple times. That whole gang they've got, man, they are the sweetest, nicest people I've ever met in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Sean Ritter. There's some story.
I like Sean. He's a hoot, man.
You know, that was is with you. It was with you and in Brit at Night of a Thousand Stars.
Yeah.
And I was helping pack up and he come flying. Well, he was pit right next to you. And he come flying up on this little handmade go-kart modified looking thing. And he goes, Wade, you gotta try this thing out. And you're like, I ain't trying that out. My back, whatever was going on. I ain't trying that. I said, here, I'll do it. It was actually, I got a TikTok video I did of it for my podcast, the Slimy Bastard TikTok page. It's on there, but there's a video of me flying around on that damn thing in the grass. You know how it is in Iowa. Towards midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, the grass starts getting dewy because of the humidity, right? So
Yep.
they're in those pits, everything's grass, and I come flying across that field in the backside there in Britt, and then I cranked it real fast. I damn near rolled the fucking thing. And you'd hear your little boy in the background. But speaking of your little guy, you got him racing now, and your daughter, are they both running, or are they both doing the little go-karts thing?
Yeah. So I would say this year we're in a dad is trying to teach some responsibility because my little dude raced and then dad did all the work and he sort of just would show up and race and I don't know if he was into it. He was just doing it for me probably. And
Yeah,
then he grew out of it because the cart was a beginner box stock. So then my daughter was big enough for it and he didn't want to race it. So he's like, oh yeah, let her race it. And so we got her in it and she raced for a couple of seasons. Same thing. I don't know, which is weird because I think when you raise your kids at the dirt track, there's certain kids that would give anything to race at the dirt track. But then there's
right,
also the kids that are raised at the dirt track and they don't see it as special or
right.
a privilege. So this year, the beginner box stock is still sitting in my garage. It's got dirt on it from last season. Dad is not washing the race car. I am teaching responsibility. You want to go race it, wash it, clean it. I'll show you how to do it, and we'll go.
Right.
So we'll see. We'll see how long it lasts. It's I have a feeling that we'll probably get maybe a little bit of racing this year. I hope.
Yeah, because he did pretty well. Did your daughter do pretty well in it too? Or
Yeah. So my little boy, he's got all the talent. Um, he's a sweetheart though. His last race, there was a race where he was leading the race, leading the main, and doing really well. And all of a sudden, you see him kind of go like half speed for a while, and second place passes him for the win. And he gets done with the race, and he comes over to me. I said, "Hey, bud, like, did you get tired? Something wrong with the car? Yada yada yada." He says, "No, little Billy had never won a race before, and I want him to have win a race and get a trophy." I was like, "Oh, like that's the sweetest thing I've ever heard." But you are not my son. That is not how we do things. Oh, it was funny as heck. And then my daughter, um, she the funny story. I don't know if you know Joe Miller from over in Tooele, Utah. We were in Delta, Utah racing, and Joe Miller's kids both have go karts, and so we take Blakely to Delta. I'm racing my mod. It's only her and his two boys, and his two boys are really good drivers and a little bit older than her. So they start running laps, and they didn't prep the track, and they didn't put any water down, so it's just dustier than anything. And his one older boy has to be, he's a few years older than Blakely is, and he's just kicking up dust. Well, she gets annoyed with him, so she just turns hard right parks and spins him out. And I go over there, we get everything straight. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, well, he's kicking up dust and he's making me mad. So I just spun him out. So I've got one kid that's got all the talent, and I've got this other kid that's got all the aggression. So we'll see how it all plays out as they age up.
All righty. Wade and I got a little bit disconnected, I should say, after some difficulties with my internet here in Iowa, northern Iowa. This last couple of weeks have been kind of spotty here and there with all the flooding in the area, and that it's been kind of haywire. But Wade and I talked over the phone. We're gonna do something part two after later on here in the season, after he gets some more racing in. But real fast, I want to thank everyone and coming and checking this show out and supporting me, and most of all to all the drivers and fans and that get a hold of me and want me to do interviews and have even reached out and want to do some stuff with me. So I appreciate all of you guys, and thanks for the support. If anyone wants to come on, or you guys knowing of anybody that wants to come on and do a quick segment with me, get a hold of me. We'd love to have anybody on. I'm open to anybody. I don't care if it's sport mod, hobby stock car, or sprint cars. I like the exposure of getting these guys some exposure and helping them out. And yeah, so with that being said, thanks again to Slade Pitt and Pit Stop Motorsports. Him and Des have been a great help to me. And then, of course, Tom's fishing guiding with thanks to Gary and his support. And quick shout out to Yeager's Auto Body out there in Green River, Wyoming. Thank you guys. And till the next time, Toodaloo, Buckaroo.
Pit Stop Motorsports, Dirt Tracks Racing, largest inventory trackside parts service. We keep racers on the track, located in Rock Springs, Wyoming, and coming to a track near you. Check us out on Facebook at Pit Stop Motorsports. And tell Slade Pitt the slimy bastards sent you.
Driver interviews, pit action, industry news. We're bringing you everything that fuels the adrenaline-pumping world of dirt track racing. Buckle up now. You're sitting with the slimy bastards.